I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh, I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe.
One thing we can say about Donald Trump with some certainty is the guy knows how to communicate in the modern social media sphere. It was he, after all, that first deployed Twitter as a political tool, baffling his opponents with his caps lock attacks, and now still to this day, with the world trying to amend and adjust to the new landscape that Trump has certainly participated in the creation of, he is still at the forefront of communications. You've seen the Joe Rogan Donald Trump interview by now, and you probably would have come away from it thinking, I don't know, that he seems somewhat comfortable and affable in a 3-hour conversation. I've been on Joe Rogan, and I find it hard just to cope with not going for a pee. That's the biggest challenge I'm having most of the time in that chair. So here he is, in his 80s, not necessarily micturating for a while, neither before or after. Joe Rogan said he didn't pee before, didn't pee after. And here he is on the most famous, or one famous aspect of Trump's persona, that is his sense of humor. Let's have a look at this part of the conversation.
So I always got more publicity than other people, and it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh, I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe. Maybe
he said a lot of wild shit, and then CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild shit, made you much more popular.
Yeah.
And they boosted you in the polls because people were tired of someone talking in this bullshit, pre-prepared politician lingo. And even if they didn't agree with you, they at least knew whoever that guy is, that's him. That's really him. Yeah. When you see certain people talk, certain people in the public eye, you don't know who they are. You have no idea who they are. It's very difficult to know. You see them in conversations. They have these pre-planned answers. They say everything. It's very rehearsed. You never get to the meat of it. One of the beautiful things about you is that you freeball. Like, you get out and you do these huge events, and you're just talking, and you're making. We've highlighted you on the show many times when you did this Biden impression where he's walking around, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's funny. It's stand up. It's funny stuff. But it's like, and you were making fun of Elon one time. You were doing an Elon impression. It's great. You have like comedic instincts. Like when you said to Hillary, "You'd be in jail." Like that's great timing.
Yeah.
But it's like that kind of stuff was unheard of as a politician. Like no one had done that. And I think
it's funny. You need at least the attitude of a comedian when you're doing this business. This is a very dangerous business. First of all, it's a very tough business.
It's the most dangerous business.
It's the most, for a job?
Yes. I mean, other than going to war and being a firefighter or being a cop, it's the most dangerous business.
It's the most dangerous. For being president is the most dangerous.
Especially you. I mean, you haven't even got to the election. There's been 2 assassination attempts, and they've brushed those out of the news like it was nothing.
Yeah, they'd rather not talk about them.
Imagine if there was assassination attempts on Biden, how hard people would be attacking the right, how they would be trying to get guns taken away from people. They would try to ramp up gun laws. They would try to figure out some way to blame you. If there was attacks if Biden got shot in the ear, we would have never heard the end of it.
But in a way, Trump talking to Rogan is, in a sense, you could call it the symbolic event of our new media landscape. Trump is the first post-mass media or mass social media political leader, and Joe Rogan is its first true star. The two of them communicating on almost any subject, and of course they covered a variety, amounts to the epitomizing event of our time. Even something as significant as the MAGA movement and the forthcoming election pale in significance when contrasted with what might be happening epocally. Now, by epocally, I mean beneath the superficial and stimulating events on the surface, there are deeper trends and deeper movements playing out. Tectonically is, I suppose, a good way to regard that. And I guess what the two of them are talking about there, via the subject of Trump's sense of humor, is authenticity. In the past, it was easier to manage a persona or to manage an idea. You have obedient press. You have an obedient agency like the New York Times or the BBC or CNN. You have obedient agencies within the deep state. Who they're obedient to, by the way, I don't know entirely, but it's easier to manage reality. Now, we have tools now that could manage reality to an unprecedented degree. You could live in a totally immersive sort of snow globe of CNN's world. But that's not possible because of the intervening and disruptive forces that exist within independent media. And I guess Joe Rogan is the clarifying shard at the forefront of it, the tip of the spear. So seeing the two of them talk together, it's pretty fascinating. It's impossible, I reckon, to imagine that Kamala Harris can win this election, because after that Madison Square Garden rally and after that Joe Rogan conversation, and did you see some of the polls around it? People like 96% of people would vote for Trump. Now, of course, it's a particular section of the audience. There are places where in Manhattan, say, or places in LA where you could go and you would not meet anyone that likes Joe Rogan or Donald Trump. But the culture has been altered irrevocably. The technology that we have now can be used to create total decentralization, or at least maximum decentralization. And I suppose you couldn't have any cohesion within decentralization unless there were some agreed upon guiding principles, perhaps like autonomy within each community, and perhaps simple things like end all forms of genocide and war, use diplomacy to advocate for peace always, rather than to facilitate the military advantages of the potentially inferior or superior side. So there's always going to be a requirement for human beings for virtue, for principles, and those principles have to be derived from something. And I don't think you can derive those principles from the culture and its vicissitudes and its continual changes. The culture is too unreliable, baby. Too unreliable, too unpredictable, and too crazy. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and the chat? And if you're watching us on YouTube, turn on the notification bell so you get told whenever we are making content. Thanks very much for joining us. Let's be honest, most K-Cup pods are serving you mouldy, pesticide-laden rubbish. Chains like Dunkin', they're stinking the place out with their stale coffee and expecting you to say cheers. 1775 Coffee makes sure you don't have to drink a chemical soup when you want a caffeine lift. 1775 Coffee steps in to slap the mediocrity right out of the competition. Their K-Cup pods are filled with single origin, high altitude beans, hand-picked by people who know what flavour actually is. It's coffee that will slap your brain fast awake. Faster, in fact, than a government scandal. Who doesn't need an injection of this new caffeine inflection? Kamala Biden? Get this stuff down here. You've got a choice of medium roast, dark roast, and mushroom blend. Yeah, actual mushrooms like lion's mane and reishi to boost your brain power, as well as giving you an immediate lift. Because let's be honest, if your coffee isn't strong enough to overthrow a small government, what's the point? This coffee is for people who don't want a participation trophy. This is coffee for winners. Go to 1775coffee.com, grab your 24-pack and tell corporate coffee to take a hike. That's go to 1775coffee.com, grab your 24-pack and tell corporate coffee to take a hike. Caffeine that will help you overthrow the powerful. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.